Hey, Mo Hashim here with Fee Landlord Property Management. I hope you and your family are safe, doing well, and remain in good spirits. I want to come to you today in this video and provide you with your May COVID-19 update. As you may know or remember, last month I I held a webinar for you all to give you an update on the impact that the coronavirus has been having on real estate as a whole, as well as specifically on our business and the rentals that we manage for you. And so if you joined that webinar, which many of you did, I thank you. We had great turnout, had a lot of great feedback. And so during that webinar, I said I would continue to try to give you updates as much as we can, and so that you are kept in the loop with how things are going. And whether you've been a team member of ours has reached out to you specifically and told you that you've been affected or not, I know that it's important as a landlord with a rental property to just know how things are going overall. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish and provide that for you. So hopefully it alleviates any unnecessary stress. So that said, the May update, I'm gonna go over that with you in just a moment. But before I do, I want to let you know, during the webinar, I had a lot of people reach out, and after the webinar, I had a lot of people reach out about real estate, accessing money, investing and taking advantage of falling real estate prices. And so what I wanted to do was put another webinar together specifically really for that. The webinar is going to be next Wednesday. Again, it's going to be free for our flat fee landlord family. So if you're a client of ours, you will have free access to this. And it's going to be next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central Time. And I am going to be hosting it. I have a special guest with me. His name is Damion Lupo. And Damion is an expert on how you can invest in real estate with your retirement funds. And what Damion does is, many of you may think that you can only invest your retirement funds in the stock market. And if any of you have been looked at your portfolio recently, or your balance, you see that it's fluctuated and there's a lot of volatility going on in the stock market recently, whereas real estate prices has not fluctuated as much yet. So Damien's going to come on. He's going to talk to you about that. And then he's also going to talk about the CARES Act that recently passed. Many of you are aware of, and I talked about this in my webinar, of things that every real estate landlord or investor should know right now is how to access cash and get access to cash. And I talked about the PPP program, if you own a small business, or the stimulus checks. But there are other things in the CARES Act that the government recently passed that you may not be aware of. And I didn't fully go into it with you during the webinar because I'm not even the expert on it. But he is, and he's going to go and talk to you about how you can access up to $200,000 from your retirement fund, penalty-free and tax-free right now because of the CARES Act, and answer your questions on that as well. And so, just so you know, I'm also inviting our tenants to this webinar because I want them to be able to know also if they ever run into a situation where they're being furloughed or hours are being cut, or heaven forbid they get laid off. I want them to be able to know that they have opportunities, or know what their opportunities are if they need to access cash to pay rent. And this is one of them. They can tap into potentially their retirement funds to make sure that they make that rent payment. So this is going to be for our residents for that aspect, but it's also going to be for you, our landlords. So you also, in case you're ever in that situation, you know how to access cash, but also if you want to take advantage of the upcoming drop in real estate prices, you will be able to do that as well. So you will need to register for this. Like I said, it's next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central Time. And if you can't make it, I still urge you to register for it, because there should be a recording, and that'll be available to you only if you register for the webinar next Wednesday. So hope to see you there for that. Now going into our May update, really no news is good news, right? That's what they say, and that's really kind of where we're at right now. There was a lot of, not us, but other property management companies and landlords were kind of worried about how May was going to pan out. And I am happy to say that once again, we have had some great results with our tenants paying their rent on time. So looking at the numbers, if you look at month to date, May month to date versus April month to date, we actually are just slightly below in our delinquency in the month of May than in the month of April. So what that means is the overall amount of money that our tenants still owe is actually less this month as it was the same time in April. And so what that number is right now, we're not even halfway through the month yet, is at about 5% delinquency. And if you remember during the webinar last month, I told you at that time, our delinquency of people that have not paid the full April rent payment was about 3%. Keep in mind that was later in the month. And so what we see happen typically are those people that are habitually late, they tend to pay later in the month. And so we'll see that 5% number drop also down to around 3 to 2% once we get further into the month. So really excited and happy to hear that and see that. And I'm really happy for you all because that means you're, for the most part, high majority of you are getting your rent. So that's great news. Something else that I thought was very eye-opening and I'm very happy to see is that those that did not pay the month of April are, they still didn't pay in May. And so what happened is the balance that they owed at the end of April, they still owed that balance, but now the month of May is added to it as well because we can't evict them right now still. The eviction moratorium is still in place. And so that said, the fact that we still have less total amount owed this month than we did last month, even with that May rent payment due on top of that, is great because what that means is that other people did pay their rent by the end of the month. And so what we're looking at here is we actually have the amount of people that have not paid has actually dropped significantly versus the month of April. So basically what I'm trying to say is the people that owe money on rent, that pool of renters has shrunk versus what they were in April. So we actually have more people paying rent in May than they did in the month of April, which is great. Like I said, we've been very proactive, reaching out to the tenants, making sure we're helping them, making sure they know their options if they have been affected, how they can reach out to different government agencies and programs to get their rent paid, as well as different programs like this to where they can access cash if they get into a situation. Again, our tenants have been very thankful for us to giving them those options and working with them. And I just want to share that with you as the owners of those properties, that tenants have been giving us great feedback and they're happy to work with us and we're happy to work with them to get through this tough situation. So that said, I also want to give you an update on the emergency rent deferral program that I touched on the last webinar. I am happy to say that we have not had anybody new apply for that. So again, our tenants, if they have been affected, they've said they're going to figure it out and they do not need to go into any special payment plan to figure it out. And so that's good news as well. And it shows it's reflective on the amount of delinquency that we have right now. So just to wrap it up, I feel good about May. It's actually better than April, which is great. And I hope that, puts you again at ease as a landlord and you're able to sleep at night. And hopefully your rental home is not a source of stress for you. And hopefully our team's doing a good job of getting back to you and getting our renewals done. I really appreciate your business. Again, I want to remind you, next Wednesday, please register for that. I'm going to put, again, like I said, the link in the comments and also in the email I'm going to send out to you. Even if you can't make it, please register so you can see the recording, because I really think it's going to be very beneficial for you to not only be able to tap into cash if you run into a situation where you need to, but also take advantage of the falling economic prices of real estate when that time comes, and hopefully thrive out of this potential recession that we're going to be heading into. So if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to our team. Again, hope you stay safe, and if you need anything, please let us know.